All right, hello, future filmmaker, teachers, and video producers. So here's the week that we're going to introduce here is the Producing Prettier Pictures portion of our coursework. In this module, really the idea here is to sort of walk you through some of the basic ideas and techniques and principles of how to take a frame and frame it better. What I mean by frame is what does the camera see? And therefore, what does the eye see? And also, how to light it better so that we utilize the light that we have around us and the light that we can create using artificial lights. And these are really important principles. As I worked through my industry career in the film industry, I got to work with lots of different cinematographers or directors of photography, and I got to see different principles of how to light. Some people like to light straight down and blast light into the floor and let it bounce up. Some people like to be very soft and subtle, and some people like to play with little lights and put them all over the place and illuminate the whole frame. And that's something that that each individual artist sort of plays with, and you find your own. But there are some basic principles that we all should know, that everyone should be able to do in order to grab the most basic and best frame and lighting setup that we have. So let's take, for instance, I'm out here. It's the first day of spring, and I'm sitting on my back deck, and it's a little chilly, unfortunately, but it's warm enough. And we've got this beautiful sunlight streaming in from the east. And it's harsh and it's hard, and you can see hard shadows. If you look right there, you can see my upper deck has a hard line. That stuff's it creates a very hard line everywhere. And I'm very illuminated. I'm bright. I might even be a little bit too bright for your screen. But if you look, the back over here, right there, the sky is a nice pretty blue, and everything seems to be kind of well framed. Now let's move the camera a little bit. And now I am at a profile to the sun. So you can see it's very hard on my side right here, and over here I'm actually getting some bounce off the white of the stucco of my house. So I have a very different look than the last shot. I'm not quite as illuminated, and there's a little bit of play right down the middle of my face between the shadow and the light. This actually would be a very nice lighting setup. Let's go to the extreme. Ooh, here we go. Now I'm in the facing my house. We have the sun right behind me, and it's blasting. I'm in dark shadow. My frame, my features are very hard to see because the camera of this computer is trying to balance the sun over here. There it is right there, and the blue over there, and I'm totally out of shadow. So we've got a problem here. And you might want this look. Some people like the halo look like that. But we do have something that's not easy to see. The focus is really on the background and not in the foreground. All right, so let's go back over here. Now let's briefly talk about framing. So when we're talking about framing, so let's put my face right in the middle. And this is not a good frame, because we do have a whole problem here where there's all this story up here. All this information is not really purposeful. It's not useful. It's not telling a story. You can see my house. You can tell it's a house. You don't need to see above my head. So this is where we talk about headroom. All right. Now we've got nothing above my head. We don't need anything above my head. All right. Let's also talk about the rule of thirds. So I'm going to turn the computer here a little bit. This is a little awkward because it's not really a camera. But at this point, now we've broken the frame into threes. So if you look, we could draw a line here, and then draw a line here, and then do the same here, and then over here. And we would find that my eyes are sort of at the intersection of two quadrants. Really thirds, not quadrants. That would be four. So thirds. This tells a little bit of story because we've got a little bit of white over here, and then over here we have a different color entirely, and we have lines. So notice I have some texture lines here, and then over here there's a nice texture line. This is very hard. But these things are creating an interesting frame. And my face doesn't want to stay in the middle. If we look at a middle, here's what our eyes normally do: is they start here in a frame or a picture. And actually, there's a little test you could do this with your students. I'll tell you that about in a second. But right here, our eyes start here, and then what they do is they circle around the frame. They look for interesting things. And what I like to do with my students sometimes is to sort of prove this. I say, all right, everyone, look at someone's eyes. All right? And about 60 to 70% of the time, the students will look at someone in the eyes and then they'll look around their face. There's something where your eyes don't want to lock on the eyes unless they want to have a staring contest, which of course middle schoolers love to do. But if they really do it naturally, they look at the eye and then they look around. Or look at look at a rock. And then if you notice, you look at a rock, I'm looking at a rock right now, I really don't want to rest on the rock. I want to look around it. And that's what framing does, is it allows your viewer, you control what your viewer is looking at. And if you're looking at the middle and everything that you're showing them its importance in the middle, they're not going to stay in the middle. They're going to look around. So you want to control where you want them to look, and you put their face, you put their eyes in the frame where you want it to. And that's usually at those intersections. And you'll see that in the tutorials. So this week is all about looking at how people frame, how you can frame better. And there's such a difference with kids and with amateur videographers. You'll notice there's a lot of dead space in frames. That just doesn't help. And it doesn't make it artistic. And it's lit wrong. So these are the things we're looking for this week. And then I really want to urge you, as you maybe get out to a movie or rent some movies, pay attention to where things are in the frame. Once you see rule of thirds framing, once you see three-point lighting, once you see different people do different things, you will notice an amazing new world open up. One last plug, a couple of movies I think you should look at. If you get a chance, take a look at a movie called Black Stallion. It's an older movie. For some of us who are older, we remember it. Beautifully shot. If you're a sports fan, watch The Natural. If you get a chance, there's a movie called Road to Perdition. It's a little violent, and it's a mobster movie with Tom Hanks. But it was shot by a man named Conrad Hall, and it is just stunning lighting work and framing work. The guy who recently worked in... he's won the last 3 cinematography awards at the Oscars, Emmanuel Lubezki. There's a tutorial in the videos this week. He's someone I got to work with once on a Nike commercial, and watch Gravity, and watch Birdman, and watch The Revenant if you can. These are tough movies to watch at times, but the camera work and the lighting is spectacular. And I'm trying to think of one more to watch. If you could see a movie called Koyaanisqatsi. It is not a narrative movie, it's just a movie of vignettes and framing, but the framing is just, it's all real-world events captured by a camera, but they spent a lot of time on making sure that the frames captured the real life in a way that's just beautiful. So, a couple suggestions. I'm open to any questions over the week, and have fun learning how to frame better and light better, and you'd be amazed at what it does for your productions.